Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Power Drift Quickies. Like I said, with the XEV90, this is not going to be a particularly quick video because this is the B6E. It's a bit of a play on being sexy because the BE brand is pronounced as B and then there's 6E like sexy. Anyways, this thing does look sexy because this is one of my favorite design details of any Indian car and probably any other car as well. It's like a S-duct, sort of like the 488 Pista, like my hand can come through it. So it's like hollow. It looks fantastic. I don't know how it looks in the camera, but it looks fantastic in person. It's very similar to how Ferrari has it on the 812 Competizione, like that sort of wing in the front. It just looks fantastic. Now, a couple things to note with the B brand is the headlights are these very minimalistic designs. So you have this sort of DRL, just straight lines going across, and you have your main beam inside here. You can barely even see it, and actually when the DRLs are off, they're almost invisible to the naked eye. I think it looks fantastic. Very clean front end, very sporty. Looks so good. We'll move around to the side. We'll go to that side actually. And here you have these 20-inch rims which look fantastic, especially with the short overhang of the front. These 20-inch rims, they look really good, and of course they're aero profiled for better range and stuff. Fun fact, the tires actually have foam inside them to reduce the NVH. We're going to be driving the BE6E tomorrow and we're going to find out how that works. By the way, prices start at 18.9 lakh rupees. That is, of course, for the base variant. This is not the base variant. This is the top spec variant. But even the base variant gets stuff like LED lighting, it gets automatic climate control and other stuff, which is fantastic. There's two battery sizes, a 59 kilowatt hour and a 79 kilowatt hour, but we'll talk about the specs in just a bit. Let me show you the rear of the car. Again, similar to the front, the lighting details are very minimalistic, so just straight lines across. It still looks very Mahindra, very XUV, but this is of course BE. You get this sort of twin spoiler at the front, at the rear I mean. And yeah, again, very racy in terms of its styling as compared to the XEV90. We're just going to open up the boot if it is going to open, and it's not going to open. Okay, it has sort of opened. It is a powered boot, but the power is not currently working. It is a smaller boot than the XEV90. I think it's about 440 liters. It is still fairly spacious, but short in terms of its length, though it is fairly wide. You have some extra storage down here and a tire as well. We're going to shut the boot. We'll just shut it like manually. Again, at the rear as well, you have some design details. So you have this sort of fake vent slat situation going on here, this sort of diffuser, and overall in terms of its proportion, especially this rear 3/4 with this line coming up, the short overhangs, it looks fantastic. This is definitely one of the best style Mahindras that I have ever seen. In terms of its dimensions, it's about 35 millimeters longer than a Hyundai Creta, just for reference. We're going to quickly hop inside and show you what that's like, because that is just mind-blowing. Okay, I know I said that S-duct in the front was one of my favorite design features. This is probably the most impressive, forget probably, this is the most impressive Indian-made cabin that I've ever seen. So let's just talk through the details. So you have this sort of surround cockpit situation going around the driver, which looks, this looks like it's right out of a concept car, and to get even this at a starting price of 18.9 lakh rupees, I think is fantastic. Let's go through some of the details here. You have an ambient lighting strip running all the way across, wrapping around. You have these pull tabs for the door handles, like a GT3 RS sort of a situation, which is so cool. Come on, that is really cool. Then you have this sort of airplane style throttle lever for the drive selector. You have a touch sensitive start stop button, and you have this key that actually slots into the middle, which is cool. This key is similar. I'm just going to mute the audio. Yeah. You have this key that again slots into the middle here, which is actually really nice. It's actually magnetized. So you can just leave the key and it magnetically pops into that slot, which is really cool. You have a touch sensitive start stop button, which is not the greatest, but still nice controls over here. You have this control here to control the screen. Let's talk about the screen. So you don't have the triple screen layout of the XEV, but this is a slightly racier car, so I think that's all right. It's also more affordable. So let me just walk you through the screen. The display is quite snappy. This of course is running a Snapdragon processor on the inside. Very snappy. This of course also has AI stuff. It again has that augmented reality heads-up display. It has that same power steering feel where it's really easy to just move the power. I can do it with like one finger. Lock to lock with like one finger. Lock to lock with like one finger. Really great. You again have a steering wheel which is sort of very reminiscent of the Tata Motors steering wheels. You have these physical controls here. You have this plus and minus that is to control the regen. You have this which is for the 10-second boost that you get on both the B6E and the XEV9E. You have dual wireless charging pads here which are really nice and wide. I do think they are rubberized, but I do think if under hard cornering your phone could slide out because the edges aren't very strong. You have this AC vent situation sort of going all the way around. Nice soft touch materials, a really futuristic looking dashboard. You have these controls on the top here which is like this flight airplane style inspired thing. So you have your controls for the sunroof, your other controls here as well. It just looks really like straight out of a concept car, but it is real and it's here. We'll quickly hop into the back and see what that's like as well. So one thing to note about the back is that this roof is fairly low. So while getting in, if you're tall, you would hit your head. So you have to sort of tuck your head underneath and then get into the car. Okay, space is quite good. The floor is not very high. It's a flat floor, so you can easily like slide stuff around. It's actually a really nice place to be. This also has that BYOD, bring your own device thing. There's a device here, but here's what it looks like otherwise. So you have this sort of charging port situation here where you can sort of mount your device. You have Type-C ports at the back of the seats. This really cool headrest situation. You again have an illuminated panoramic roof. There's just so much to talk about. I mean, Mahindra's come a long way. The seat fabric is, I don't know how to explain this. It's almost like a wool sweater sort of a fabric. Very cool. They seem to have thought of every single part of the design and they've just taken it to the next level. Every single little bit, they've just touched around and they've just, you know, just done such a fantastic job. You have this sort of AC vents that don't look like AC vents, but this is the AC vent. You can shut it through here and it's just really well designed. I mean, hats off to you, Mahindra. This is fantastic. We're just going to hop on outside and we'll talk about the specs, the range, the pricing and everything else. Okay, so now let's talk about some numbers of the B6E. The overall length is 4371 millimeters. Like I said, that's about 30 millimeters longer than a Creta and a whole 418 millimeters shorter than the XEV9E that we've already showed you. 455 litre boot, 45 litre frunk here. You get 207 millimeters of ground clearance, which is the same as the XEV9E. Again, this also gets level 2 plus ADAS with radars and cameras, and it gets the same driver initiated lane change function. So if you are on adaptive cruise control, you come up to a slower car in front, you can just indicate for the lane change and the car can change lanes automatically. It also gets auto park with over 200 parking situations that have already been programmed into it. And the auto park works when you're inside the car as well as when you're outside the car. So you can just use a phone app and slide the car in and it will park itself. Like I said, prices start at 18.9 lakh rupees for the base variant, but that's not really a base variant. It gets a lot of tech on the inside. This is the top spec variant with a 79 kilowatt hour battery. That equals to a range figure of 550 kilometers on the WLTP cycle. I'm guessing that's about 510 kilometers in the real world. 0 to 100 is 6.7 seconds, which is fast, and that is thanks to 285 horsepower and 380 Newton meters going only to the rear wheels for now. I do guess there will be a dual motor all-wheel drive sort of a variant in the future. But this, as a first impression, is fantastic. I mean, Mahindra, hats off. I would take the hat off, honestly, but my hair is just in a mess. But hats off to you, Mahindra. This is 10 on 10. We're going to drive this tomorrow. I really can't wait. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And yeah, like I said, I apologize. I've been very excited and sort of Oh, okay. Thank you.